Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome back, everyone. I am Wendy Sellers, and today we're going to clarify some important aspects of the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, a crucial piece of legislation that continues to protect pregnant workers across the United States. There has been some confusion around the potential for this act to be removed, just like affirmative action was just ended. Let's set the record straight and delve deep into what the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act entails, its protections, and why it's a significant step forward in workplace rights. The Pregnant Workers Fairness Act was signed into law in December 2022 and became effective in June 2023. This act is a law, not an executive order. Unlike policies established through executive orders, which can be more transient and subject to the preferences of each administration, laws created by Congress have a more permanent stature. Therefore, for the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act to be changed or removed, it would need to pass through the rigorous legislative process again, involving both houses of Congress and the president's approval or veto. The act applies to private employers, public sector employers, including state and local governments, as well as Congress and federal agencies, provided these entities have 15 or more employees. It also covers employment agencies and labor organizations. This broad applicability ensures that a significant portion of the American workforce is protected under this law. The Pregnant Workers Fairness Act is designed to protect employees from discrimination based on pregnancy, childbirth, and related medical conditions. This includes providing necessary accommodations for pregnant workers. Employers are required to engage in an interactive process to determine appropriate accommodations without causing undue hardship on the operation of the business. These accommodations might include more frequent or longer break periods, temporary transfers to less strenuous or hazardous work, and private spaces for expressing breast milk, among others. Furthermore, the law mandates that employers post notices explaining the protections under the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. This ensures that all employees are aware of their rights and the obligations of their employers. Now, let's discuss what the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act specifically prohibits. Number 1, failure to accommodate. Employers must not refuse to make reasonable accommodations for known limitations related to pregnancy, childbirth, or related medical conditions, unless the accommodation would impose an undue hardship on the operation of the business. Number 2, unwanted accommodations. Employers must not require an employee to accept an accommodation they have not agreed to or that has not been arrived at through the interactive process. Number 3, denial of opportunities. Employers cannot deny employment opportunities to an employee or prospective employee if they are otherwise qualified, based on the need for a reasonable accommodation related to pregnancy or childbirth. Number 4, mandatory leave. If there is another reasonable accommodation available that would allow the employee to continue working, employers cannot require an employee to take leave. Number 5, retaliation. Employers must not retaliate against an employee for requesting or using a reasonable accommodation, participating in an investigation or proceeding under the PWFA, or opposing any act or practice made unlawful by this act. And number 6, coercion. Employers cannot coerce, intimidate, threaten, or interfere with any individual exercising or attempting to exercise any right provided under the PWFA, or assisting others in exercising their rights. It is crucial for all stakeholders, including employers, employees, and advocacy groups, to understand these protections fully. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission continues to process charges filed not only under the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, but also under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Americans with Disabilities Act, ensuring a comprehensive framework for protecting workers against discrimination. Another act you need to know about is the Pump Act. The Pump for Nursing Mothers Act is a law that makes several important changes to the break time for nursing mothers law, which has required since 2010 that employers nationwide provide reasonable break time and a private, non-bathroom space for lactating employees to pump milk during the workday. The 2022 Pump Act was passed to close some of the loopholes in the original 2010 law. The 2022 Pump Act almost entirely closes the coverage gap that left 1 in 4 women of childbearing age without federal protection of their right to break time and a private space to pump during the workday. It expands the legal right to receive pumping breaks and private space to nearly 9 million more workers, including teachers, registered nurses, farm workers, and many others. Makes it possible for an employee to file a lawsuit against an employer that violates the law. Before the Pump Act became law, employees who were harmed when their employer did not provide break time and space were not able to seek a monetary remedy in court. The Pump Act now clarifies that pumping time counts as time worked when calculating minimum wage and overtime if an employee is not completely relieved from their work duties during the pumping break. By maintaining and enforcing the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act as well as the Pump Act, we uphold a key aspect of employment law that contributes to safer, more equitable workplaces. This act not only protects the health and economic security of pregnant workers, but also supports the creation of inclusive work environments where all employees, regardless of their pregnancy status, can thrive and succeed. Thanks for tuning into Series 2 of 5. Take care and tune in to the next episode about change. And yes, for those wondering, JC will be back soon.